Hello, konnichiwa. Welcome to Kiko Network channel. Here at this channel, we are introducing key points in thinking about energy and climate change in Japan. The seventh theme is the whereabouts of Japan's 25% reduction target. Do you remember that after the change in government in September of 2009, the former Prime Minister Hatoyama of the Democratic Party of Japan announced at the UN General Assembly that Japan would aim to reduce 25% of its greenhouse gases by 2020. Well, this announcement was applauded worldwide, and the national poll at the time showed a 70% approval rating. This target was also submitted to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, so it is now internationally recognized as Japan's target. However, right now the survival of this target is in jeopardy. In Japan, 90% of greenhouse gas emissions consist of carbon dioxide or CO2, and 90% of this is emitted as a result of energy use. Thus far, the government has argued that nuclear power is necessary for CO2 reduction and has pursued a heavily nuclear-dependent climate policy. Furthermore, now it is arguing that it will be difficult to reduce emissions as previously planned due to the current situation in Japan since the tsunami and nuclear disaster. There are two concerns. One is that there is barely any discussion at all concerning targets for 2020, with all emission reduction measures being postponed for another 10 years to 2030. However, the core discussions during negotiations at the various UN conferences concern how to raise greenhouse gas reduction pledges to more ambitious levels by 2020. Please take a look at this graph. It has been internationally agreed that in order to avoid the serious effects of climate change, such as extreme weather events, the increase of global temperature must be kept to below 2 degrees. But to make the 2 degrees goal a reality, the 2020 targets currently pledged by each country are far from sufficient. Because of this delay in action, chances of realizing the 2 degrees goal are nearly vanishing. The efforts made in the next 5 to 10 years will therefore crucially determine our climate future. Simply put, giving up the 2020 target and attempting to postpone the plan another 10 years is only going to worsen the problem. The second concern is the government's persistent argument that CO2 emissions will increase if nuclear power plants remain stopped. Yet even if nuclear power is stopped, in principle, a CO2 increase can be limited if energy-saving measures are actively pursued. It shouldn't be a simple trade-off. However, alternative scenarios to pursue energy saving are not currently being seriously considered, with the nation of Japan being forced an ultimatum: nuclear or CO2. Government studies have shown that existing energy-intensive industries will continue to grow into the future. Energy efficiency is not fully pursued at power plants and factories currently in Japan. If this industrial structure remains unchanged without efforts in energy efficiency and energy saving, a 25% reduction is no doubt going to prove difficult. However, if companies and factories can incorporate a system of energy conservation and effective capturing and use of heat byproducts, a 25% reduction would not be impossible. This will also foster a new environmental industry. This possibility has already been proven by various scenarios released by Kiko Network, WWF, Greenpeace, and several other NGOs. It should also be noted that there are subtle differences between the target discussed today and the 25% target previously announced. Hatoyama's 25% reduction is a conditional target that requires other key countries such as the United States and China to act. Although it is not made clear whether this target will be achieved solely through domestic measures or whether it includes credits acquired through reduction contributions to foreign countries. On the other hand, the target which is currently being considered rests independent of other nations' actions. It will also be achieved solely through domestic means. Therefore, the two targets cannot easily be compared. It is important to sustain the 25% reduction target through ambitious domestic measures, combined with international contributions. This will signify Japan's new commitment towards a low-carbon society after the 11th of March 2011, and also towards collaborating with the international community against global challenges. This summer, along with the energy policy, the government plans to determine a numerical greenhouse gas reduction targets for 2020 and then 2030. Let's also keep a close watch on the developments of these climate change policies.